Freedom is not a gift. Instead, freedom is a burden. It's a weight that you never asked for. Because meaning, purpose, and identity, none of it is really handed to you. They are yours to create. Every single moment asks you to decide who you will be, what will you stand for, and how will you exist in this crazy and different universe. And that responsibility, that complete, total, existential responsibility, is absolutely terrifying. Jean-Paul Sartre said it best. Man is condemned to be free. He meant that we did not choose to exist, but once we do, every single choice becomes ours. You cannot escape it. You're not an actor reading from someone else's script. You're simply improvising your role in real time. That is the true freedom. And most people would rather die than admit that kind of terror lives inside choice. Comfort is seductive because it hides that weight, it eases that burden off your shoulders. It tells you that this is enough, it softens your edges, it tells you about job security, it tells you about routines and avoiding conflict. Yet with every single routine kept and every single opinion muzzled, you trade a piece of your freedom. You trade it for the illusion of safety. But freedom doesn't simply work in that way. Instead, you don't lose fear by hiding. You lose your freedom. The myth is that more choice equals more freedom, but that is simply a lie for marketers to sell you. We live in an information era where, your phone will flood you with 1,000 things that you could become. And it's paralyzing, it's too many options, it's too much responsibility on you. Real freedom is paradoxical. The more you commit, the more free you feel. Choose a direction, a core value, a craft, and suddenly the branches will start to fall away. Your purpose sharpens. You're not simply stuck with options. Instead, you're clear about what matters. You embrace the constraint and you learn that freedom isn't about having everything. You only earn freedom by choosing the things to carry. Accepting that isn't a simple task. It means saying no to good things so you can say yes to great things. It scares the ego because choosing one identity meaning sacrificing all others. It means making your relationships messy because freedom doesn't care about some consensus. It doesn't work around your excuses. Instead, it demands courage, and it demands that you burn that fear of the wrong things. There is no roadmap here, no voiceover guiding you to the next big thing. You design that map yourself, and that is lonely. And that is why freedom is terrifying. That's why it's a horrifying thing to understand and comprehend. Silence echoes with your unanswered questions. What do I stand for? What if I get it wrong? What if the crowd here was right and I'm the problem? Those questions aren't just rhetorical. They're simply the weight of your freedom, and running from them buys fleeting relief, not escape. You are literally trading your freedom for comfort only to discover you become someone else's script. Talking about terror, not some sort of dramatic kind, but instead that quiet internal quake when you realize you're not living your own life, that you're performing someone else's version of who you actually should be. You might look like you have everything together for yourself. You might have a job, you might have a family, you might have an apartment, but inside your heart, there is some sort of hollow space that you and only you recognize. That is the freedom knocking, asking you to answer for who you actually are. Everybody knows that freedom costs, but what if you could predict that price? What if sacrificing that comfort brought an inner peace that fits like skin? Because when you know your own values, your craft, and your voice, you free yourself from the tyranny of expectation. And yes, the beginning does hurt. It starts with small choices. It starts with what you read. It starts with where you invest your curiosity and who you spend your time with. And these small acts are your muscles for freedom. They show you that you can choose, that you can create, and that you can abandon autopilot on your life. And then bigger choices start to appear, changing careers, setting boundaries within your life, saying things that might have felt dangerous to the old you. And it's no longer the risk that's scary. It's simply the gap between who you are expected to be and who you're brave enough to become. Freedom's terror is the survival of real self. You're allowed to cultivate peace only when you agree to never hide again. Only once you accept that your truth will confuse other people. That your priorities will make others uncomfortable regardless of how you try and accustom it to them. That your path may force other people to question their own and you will have to watch them turn away from you. Because the paradox is that losing your audience might be the point. Popularity isn't a proof of purpose. Freedom isn't a permission slip from other people. Instead, it's integrity within yourself. And authenticity will always look lopsided. It will always make some people feel too small. So they'll push back against you, they'll resist. but you have to stand there and you cannot step back. So to get practical, to apply it to your real life, I'm going to ask you, how does this actually feel like? What does this feel like? Well, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you basically. It's choosing a passion over an income, not always mindlessly, but with some sort of strategy and a brutal honesty about what matters. You can't just say, I'm going to chase my dream because I hate my job. You have to have a plan and you have to be honest with yourself. Is this sustainable? It's saying no far more than saying yes. Saying no to family gatherings that threaten your mental health. Saying no to that project that no longer aligns with your values. Saying no to the noise that keeps stealing your creative quiet. And then it's also about letting your work speak instead of promoting that work. The world doesn't need a fucking selfie for you to post on your Instagram story. Instead, they need the meaning in your art. Because once the meaning is actually achieved, people will resonate with it. That's why I create a lot of these videos, because I'm spreading my meaning, and the people who do resonate with it, I really appreciate that. It's also allowing yourself to feel deeply, to feel the emotions of pain, the emotions of joy, the emotions of confusion and sorrow, because emotion is a compass of authenticity. If you never experience these emotions in your life, you can't be a human. It's a human nature to experience emotion. So realize that is true freedom, not the illusion of having everything, willingly at your demand, having the option to have everything you want. Instead, the coherent sense of something that ties your existence together. Sorry, I don't know why I messed up my word there. Once you live like that, you do not fear criticism. Instead, you welcome the truth, because nothing will kill you faster than your own silence, your own omission. Freedom isn't a destination. Instead, it's a constant upkeep. It's daily small commitments that remind you who you actually are as a person. And realize that if you stop, the weight will come back. The burden will increase even potentially. But if you stay there, if you stay in that heavenly scene between, who you're meant to be and who you actually are right now, and start to transition towards who you're meant to be, something astonishing will happen. Decisions will stop tiring you. You will never get overwhelmed by options. Instead, you can cut through them. Walls become doors. The unknown becomes familiar. Because terror is simply weakness leaving. Fear of freedom is just resistance hiding behind excuses. And the more that you act in integrity, the less that those fears matter. You learn that you're capable of choosing even when everything inside is screaming against you, telling you not to choose. You learn that confidence isn't born out of praise. It's forged in the crisis of choice. So let's end with this. Let me end with this. Freedom isn't peaceful. It's wild, it's terrifying, it's untamed, it's relentless. But it's the only path that leads you to a life that you own. You can run back to comfort anytime you want, but do not lie and say you're not running. That is simply the freedom staring directly at you. In the choices that you make, the walls that you knock down to get through, the person that you refuse to become. This is it. This is the one life that you get. This is the one chance that you have. And you are the one responsible. You're the one behind the wheel. So if you're terrified, perfect. That means you're awake. That means you're looking at freedom and you're looking at it as an option.